Welcome back, everyone, to Lesser Known Operators. I'm your host, Nicholas Allen, and my guest today is Chad Ballestrazze. He's a civil affairs officer who is now one of the founders, curators, hosts of Beyond the Trek podcast. He also does a little public speaking in there, motivation, and mentorship. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode just as much as I did. As always, today's episode is brought to you by the Green Beret-owned business Precision Wellness Group and Dr. Taylor Bosley. Precision Wellness Group helps you restore balance, unlock vitality, and fuel your momentum through bioidentical, evidence-based hormone therapy. Dr. Taylor Bosley is a board-certified physician, a U.S. Army veteran, and a former Green Beret. So he knows where you've been, where you want to go, and how to get you there. And he's an actual doctor who can prescribe you actual medicine. So if HRT, TRT, hormone replacement therapy, testosterone replacement therapy, peptides are something you've been thinking about for a while now, or just looking into, look no further than Precision Wellness Group and Dr. Taylor Bosley in Southern Pines, North Carolina, in person and telemedicine. Today's episode is also brought to you by Alpha Elite Performance. Get your supplements for the gym at alphaeliteperformance.com. Use code LKO15 at checkout to save 15% on your order. I recommend the creatine and pre-workout pipe hitter. Get you going for the gym. Always does for me. I do appreciate you guys. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, pass these episodes along. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Chad Ballestrazze, welcome to Lesser.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, fellow podcaster. But after going over your org chart, it seems like you're a little more convoluted than mine is. It's just one, and then I hold all 27 seats on the board, where it seems like you have to divide some of the decisions up amongst other people. But for the most part, you're just making all the decisions over there, right?
It is, yeah.
How long did it take you to come up with the name for Beyond the Trek, or did you have the name and then you came with the project?
Nope. I had an idea to do a project first, and then the name came actually from Mac, one of the teammates I've got that's actually on the team. So originally, this was based around like a physical fitness type event, but with coaching, teaching, and mentoring in there. So anything that we asked you to do, we would be there with you doing the exact same thing, walking the walk, talking the talk. And I had to take a little bit of time and realize everybody outside of the military and a lot of people inside the military don't necessarily like to do those events and just go out and get their ass kicked all the time for no good reason. So I had to do a little research and stuff in there, but the name came about when I was talking to Mac one day, and he was like, "Hey, why don't we go with like Beyond the Trek, like something that takes you through an event where people are coaching you, they're doing it alongside you, what you learn about yourself, what you learn about your teammates, and what you learn there, the discussions that we have, you take that beyond that event, and how are you going to go out and impact others?" And I was like, wow, that sounds like a great idea. Let's go with that. And it just stuck, and it has completely evolved away from that, even though physical fitness is still a component of it, because physical fitness, I think, is so important for physical, mental, emotional health, mental health. And it's just such a large part of who I am and who we are, that if I just stopped working out, or I think it would just be, I would self-destruct. And I think you can get a lot out of people and build camaraderie that way, shared hardship.
Absolutely. That seems to be, there's so many cheesy sayings. Iron sharpens iron. You can't make a knife without heating it up first. You got to break some eggs to make cookies. I don't know, some cheesy sayings and stuff like that, but it's all true. You know, the more difficult something is, the more rewarding or it is in the end, and things like that. But for folks listening at home, I'm trying to be better about this also, is when because we say things that are very well known, and maybe some of my civilian listeners at home, the trek for me is the final event at selection, the sometimes final event at selection. It's I don't know, I think I did it in like 6 or 7 hours of walking with a ruck on. I don't know how far it was. For you guys, civil affairs, there's a trek as well.
Yep. Same thing at the end. Somewhere
Okay,
in
at
there.
the end.
It's been a long time, but yeah.
Yeah, when I went in January of 12, those guys didn't have to do a trek. I had been med dropped before I got to the end. When I went back in September, they told us we're done. You guys are done. Go to sleep. We're gonna clean up tomorrow and go home and selection day or whatever. Sure enough, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, cadre out there, 45 pounds dry or whatever it was, and out here on the rocks for a mystery event. Man, that sucked. Just walking. So I don't think anybody. I don't know if anybody failed. It was just you kind of just walked, and you just. I just kept my head down and was miserable the entire time. But I knew, like, there's no standard or anything. It was pretty. It had been an on again, off again thing, and all the X-rays were saying there's no. They don't hold you to anything. They had all the information. It's just like all you gotta do is finish. So I just kept my head down, concentrated on how bad my feet hurt, and just walk. I didn't stop for water. I didn't do anything. I just trekked it out. And so the trek is the final exercise in selection for at least on the Army side for CA and Special Forces. But it's always a memorable
Yeah, it is
thing
a
in the pipeline.
oh yeah, 1,000%. It is one of those things that especially when you're rucking a 12 miler, once, twice a year, however many times you do it when you're, the big army, that your body knows when you hit 12. And I specifically remember walking and knowing that I had hit 12 miles because my body was just not having it anymore. And there was a cadre member that was standing out there and he's like, come on, you're almost done. For anybody that's been out to Camp McCall, it was on the backside of the airfield. You're coming up and over. And this was, I don't know, 12, 13. I went right after you. So it was somewhere right around there. And you're coming right on the backside of the airfield. And I'm like, oh, there's Camp McCall proper. And he's like, don't worry, you're almost done. And I was like, oh, dude, perfect. So I start running, start moving, and I come right up over the hill and there's a cone with an arrow. And I was just like, all right, dude. I just put my head down and I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. And, I don't even, I honestly don't know how far it was. I've heard rumors somewhere between 18 and 25, but
Yeah,
then again, I don't
yeah,
know.
it
I just
felt
know,
like
yeah,
yeah.
I just know when I crossed the finish line, they said, hey, go ahead and take your boots off and you can wear sandals. That's all I remember.
Well, I don't know, but that maybe, yeah, maybe. My feet were destroyed, like,
Yeah.
after 3 weeks of selection, so I don't even remember. It's just like, okay, yeah. Um, that is even it really isn't even a memorable part of it for me. I just know it sucked, and I just kept my head down. Like, I remember almost the entire down pilot exercise, but some things stand out to people more than others. Just depends on how prepared you are and things like that. But what you said there about the civilian, um, what is it like? Not commitment, but like drive. It's just different. It's just a different sort of thing and motivation. And when somebody tells you to do something in the military, well, you do it, or you're going to get in trouble. You're either going to get paperwork or you're going to get non-paperwork form of correction, and that just doesn't exist in the civilian world. So what brought you to say that, to make that the difference there you were seeing with that with civilians?
So, and again, to clarify, like, it's not a knock on them. I, I do like to tell people when you come over and you serve, especially in the special operations community, the way individuals are assessed, selected, and eventually hopefully make it on to where they want to go on and serve is everybody in somewhat shape or form typically has something loose right upstairs, but pain is the name of the game. And everybody is, for the majority, is very type A driven. Everybody wants to be the best. Everybody is there to work hard. And it's very easy to get those types of people to want to push the envelope each and every day. I say that because as I looked at what do I want this organization or business to look like, I was reaching out to ROTC programs, to individuals that haven't yet entered service, because I figured that that was a really good target audience. I said, well, these people want to join the military. Uh, they're going to want to do something difficult and hard. And I had reached out to Campbell University, which is outside Fort Bragg, and talked to the professor of military science. And he had told me, hey, you might get one or two people that want to come out and do a 4, 6, or 8 hour event. But the majority of these kids aren't going to want to do something hard like that unless it's the ones that want to go to the infantry or armor, maybe field artillery. Like they want to do something difficult. And that kind of just struck me in a different way. And I said, yeah, you're right. My career path was a little bit different. I came in enlisted, did some time in the convention army, assessed, completed the Q course, went to a team, then decided to go green to gold. And that time that I was in green to gold, I still had that soft like mentality. So even though I was in a green to gold program, I was still hungry, and I found it very difficult to find others that were like that, especially other active duty people that were there. And I had to think back on that. I had to think back, man, when I was there, you're right. Like a lot of these kids didn't want to do these things. They didn't want to show up early. They didn't want to work out. They were just there to get school complete, earn a commission, and then go ahead and move on. Same thing happened. I realized when I went back, when I commissioned into the infantry, and I was there not very long before I came back to SOF, was there are people who want that and there are people who don't want that. So that really started to shape the business model. This thing wasn't created until I came back to Fort Bragg, started serving in SOF, where I had the idea to go ahead and start a business. But those experiences have really shaped the way I've thought about it. And I have now pivoted to more speaking engagements, taking the experiences that we have had, the experiences that others have had, regardless of what they are, good, bad, indifferent. Those are all life lessons that you can go on and teach to other people. And regardless of how you served, where you served, especially in SOF, everyone has a baseline understanding of how to build teams, how to go to another country, train, coach, teach, mentor. Take those lessons learned and provide them to an organization. What makes people tick? How do they tick? How can you care for your people? And the one thing I've seen throughout my time in the Army, and I'm starting to see it a little bit in the civilian world in very limited scope, is people like to lead or command in the Army through the inbox. If I just send an email or I signed a policy memo, that'll go ahead and that'll change the way things go. And I'm a firm believer, and through my experience, like that isn't going to work. It's getting out of your office, getting down into the team room, getting down to where those individuals are. Because at the end of the day, Bubba who's carrying a rifle, that person who's opening or closing your store, person who's answering the phone, they're putting forth the policy and they're the face of your organization. So if you're not going to put time and effort into those people who are going to represent who you are, you may or may not be very successful.
Probably unsuccessful. Or in the military, it doesn't matter. If your raider thinks you're doing good, then that's all that matters. But in the real world, that's not the case. We're in a capitalist. The market will decide if you need to go away or you don't. And you said beyond the treks of business. What is the intent with the business? You have different areas that you're focusing on. For you said it changed a little bit, but you said more towards the public speaking and away from the actual training side of things, because there's a lot of people doing a lot of prep programs and things like that out there, and they're getting pretty good at it. So if you felt
Yeah.
being pushed more towards that direction of public speaking and things like that and leadership
Yeah.
development.
100%. That is my main focus. So I would say there's three lines of effort here. The main line of effort being public speaking, coaching, workshops, self assessments, team building. Second approach being training as in there's so many great people and awesome organizations that, like you said, doing prep programs. They're doing tactical training. Those people are way better at it than I am. However, one component I do like to bring to that is the self development and leadership development and combine them with some sort of tactical training. So there's an individual, John DeCourcy, owns 27th Response. He's a former New York hostage rescue team member or team leader. And now he decided to leave the department and he owns a firearms training company. And we have come together a couple times. And one of the things we're building is Trek to the Response. And he's going to teach he's going to teach the flat range rifle and pistol training. One of the guys on the Beyond the Trek team just retired. He was a former SOCM. He's going to teach some baseline medical skills. And then what I am going to do is teach leader development. How do you prep your mind your body physically, mentally, emotionally before, during, and after an event. Things that we don't think about. A lot of times we think about equipment as like our weapon, but we don't think about our mind as a weapon. We want to combine this course and run a 3-day course. First part one being leader development, two being flat range and a little bit of medical training, and then day three being a small amount of CQB or active shooter training, and that'll be a 3-stage FTX. So individuals will go in there. The first FTX, they might just respond to somebody, and they'll have a unit solution rifle where it's just, hey, you're placed in a stressful situation. We're going to take the hood off somebody. They're going to try and grab a unit solution rifle. How are you going to react? And that's just to put your mind in a state of, hey, what would I do? How would I act? What are the things I'm thinking about? And what I would like to take that for, and as you progress in the FTX, to the third one being, hey, we're going to do a little bit of mission planning, right, on a very, very, very rudimentary level. Somebody's going to call 911, you and your small team, there's an active shooter situation. You're going to move 50 to 100 meters to some sort of shoot house, get your heart rate up. What is my mind thinking of? Are there role players coming out? Am I physically able to go into the house? Mentally, am I able to be able to go in there? Do I trust these people that are on my left and my right? And like I said, this is a very elementary rudimentary course, but it's just to get people thinking through this. Cause sadly, like, we do have these events that are happening, and I've never been around to witness one, but what you see on TV, and I understand those aren't always accurate, but the things you see are a lot of people standing by, pulling out their phones, and there's no reaction to it. And a lot of the AARs I've been able to get back when I talk to police officers, things is it's a lack of confidence. It's a lack in my ability, physically, mentally, emotion, to be able to commit, to be able to go in there. So how can you train that? How can you take just a little bit of that? How do you build teamwork, camaraderie? What can you learn out of this course that you can take back to your community, your department, your sports team, whatever, and take those building blocks and be able to pass that on. So that'd be the second line of effort. Yeah. Go ahead though. Sorry.
And then, so, yeah, you got to inoculate people to stress as well. The most stressful thing that most people encounter is not, it's stressful to them. It's probably the worst thing to ever happen to them, but it doesn't mean that it's the worst thing that can happen to them. There's some pretty bad things that can happen to you. And all right, so you're giving these people to, are you cognizant of like the theory of making people dangerous to themselves now? You don't want to give them too much confidence and then they overshoot their skills as well, right? Because then they rush into a situation where, oh shit, my mind has got me into a place that my body can't get me out of. Are you
Thousand,
aware of that when you speak to people as well?
1000%. And I haven't had the opportunity to put this course on yet, but that is something that I've walked through, which is why it's so elementary. We're going to talk through, because as you look, especially in the military, commanders typically want to know two things: how much risk do I have to assume, and are you at an asset or a liability? So the way this course, I would like it to be structured with day one, check in, some discussion. Day two, do a little workout in the morning, some sort of PT event to kind of expose to yourself, like, hey, am I where I need to be? And everything you do throughout the course is structured just like the Army, right? Crawl, walk, run. So what you're able to do in the morning with the PT event, you'll see some sort of similarity with that with the final event. And it's, as I'm going into this, am I a risk? Am I a liability, or am I an asset? And it's just to be able to expose people just to a little bit of it. Absolutely not going into full mission planning. We're not storming, kicking indoors, any of that. It's just, can I respond to this situation? If I enter some sort of active shooter situation, inoculate that stress. If there's a child that's there that's wounded, am I able to run by them? What am I doing? Am I stopping? And nobody's going to be there saying, you need to get through the door. You need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. It's just exposing you to it. And more importantly, what I hope to get, if I can get a group of law enforcement people through that, is at the end of that, AAR it. And let's talk about the stress management, the trauma of it. Like, let's normalize speaking through that and making it okay if we're not okay. And I say that recently I had two guests on our podcast, Brad Shepard and Michael Segru, both former police officers, and those episodes will be coming out soon. Both of them talked about a lot of trauma from being police officers and how no one is talking about it, or they didn't while they were there until they retired. Now things are changing. And it's taking small organizations to go out there and normalize it and say, hey, I'm not okay. And I know my time in the military, it has changed from years ago, right? And I'm closing in on 20 years. Years ago, if things were wrong, injured, or you had a bad patrol or a bad deployment, you just didn't talk about it. And now I see that shifting and it's okay to go get help. That way you can come back stronger, better, and be able to help somebody else, which honestly, from what I've gotten listening on your episodes, is very in line with what you're doing, right? Promoting positivity, talking, getting those things out there. Like it's okay. We don't have to, like, you can still be a manly man or a very tough woman, but it's okay to ask for help. So let's normalize that. And if something bothered you, let's fix it and figure out a way or get you the help to work through it. So if you ever do encounter it again, right? We're not looking at a traumatic event for your family because you decided to take a permanent solution to a problem that we could probably solve.
Yeah, a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I do sympathize though with that temporary problem because it is painful, very painful, and pain is tough to deal with. Like I'm not afraid of God, really anything at this point, but man, some of the pain from injuries that I've had in my head, oh man, I didn't want to be alive anymore. And some of those things, those are physical injuries and things like that. And then to feel some of those same things on the emotional level with like moral injuries or depression, hormone imbalance, and things like that, just as painful, just as bad. So the show and speaking and all kinds of other things, man, I understand. I get it. I really do. And that's why I try to tell people the most is I get it. I know. I know it sucks, but it's okay to raise your hand and be like, "Hey, I'm having a rough time." And somebody would be like, "Hey, I'm having a rough time too. We can have a rough." Um, that's not how things go. We don't lock arms and then ring around the rosy, but everybody's going through the same things as well, and it's tough on everybody. Everybody's suffering from something, whether it's something good in their lives or something bad. Everybody's suffering at some level about something.
And one thing I like to tell people is it's harmony because balance, you can argue, can be a fallacy. So it's a harmony going up and down between physical, mental, emotional, and like spiritual fitness. And I think also why the organization has changed and the name means so much is because those difficult times that you faced in your life, whether good, bad, right? Like you just described, hey, physical injury, those don't define who you are, but what you're going to do from those lessons learned and give it back to other people, which is exactly what you're doing right here with your show and all your platforms, is so important. But it's being able to have harmony between all those because you've seen those people that are super physically fit, but mentally they're not there anymore, or they're not tough. And it's like one thing's going to set them over the edge. Or right, they're physically there, they're there, but emotionally they're just not. So how do you find a way to have that harmony and go up and down as life continues to go, to be able to pull the shoestrings on it? And I think that's another important thing I'm trying to get out there and talk to people about. And we were able successfully to do about a year ago, got invited out to go to Bellarmine University in Louisville, Kentucky, and talk to a D1 wrestling team. That right there, we got to combine physical fitness with a discussion, which I think was great because you got a bunch of young kids and they wanted to do something hard, and I didn't last very long on the mat before I got pretzeled up, and I just continued to go. But the next morning, being able to put on a physical event and have shared hardship for an hour really got a lot of buy-in. And the discussion of having that harmony, that discussion of, hey, you guys are in college right now, you're facing a lot of different things. How do you have it? And I call it a success because since then, two of those young men have reached back out asking for additional help, asking for resources. It's an absolute win if you can just help one person. So
Yeah, it's good to plant the seed at least. in at that level, because college isn't real either. The military's not real. These are all fantasy places. Um, when you get rooted in the real world, when you have a house and then like a civilian job and you've got a family and you're rooted in the real world, the military is not the real world. College, that ends. The military, this fake career that we get into, it's real at the time, but it also ends. They kick you out. No matter what, you're going to get kicked out eventually. You got to go back and acclimate to society. But it's good while you're in there to start learning these things, because it's going to end. The sun is going to set on whatever path you think you're on, and you're going to have to go a different direction. I guess you can be a student forever and never leave, and go and be a professor, and then get tenure and never stop being at the college, but very rare, I suppose. But it's good that you get in there. But athlete, especially wrestler, God, that's tough. I mean, I think wrestling is probably the best sport that you can do, um, to set you up for success later in life. Adversity, physical fitness, the thinking, and all of the other physical things that go along with it. Just the best. I think that's the best that everybody should get into. Now, everybody won't, because it sucks, but that's kind of how the way things go. That must have been fun, though, rolling around on the mat and getting through. I think that
Oh,
sounds like a blast.
dude, I got smacked, I got rolled, and it got to a point after about 15 minutes. Actually, I got it on video. I'll have to send it to you. One of the kids was like, "Why are you keep going?" And I'm like, "So I'm not going to quit, dude. I know nothing but combatives, and it does not equate to this. So I'm just going to continue to let me slam here, so at least I can hope to earn a little bit of your respect. So come on."
So, who's your target demographic then for this? We said obviously we're on the civilian side, but is it geared towards men, women, and an age range, or just kind of anybody that wants to gain these skills, or the intent of what you guys are offering? Who does that best fall in with?
I like to say it's everybody. I've been told by multiple people that that is not a good approach. You should have a targeted approach, a narrowed line of effort to be able to do that. My argument with that is, and maybe I'll learn it the hard way as I continue to go forward, is everybody can benefit from leadership. And I know leadership is this saturated term that is used, and it's very ambiguous, but everybody can learn or gain from your life lessons and your lessons learned. Everybody, the soccer mom to the CEO of a Fortune 500 company to, to the person flipping burgers. That how do you build a good example would be, how do you build culture? Like there's a difference between culture and strategy. I had this discussion with somebody and they were talking about, well, our strategy to achieve X to make more money. Okay, your strategy is great, but your culture sucks. You're not going to be able to outpace culture because your turnover rate is going to be very bad. So, culture eats strategy for breakfast each and every day. And how do we know that? And we can lay out some examples of how have we seen that? How is time and service, time and not? Maybe you're the person flipping burgers and you're like, this culture here sucks. Well, that's great. As you go forward in life, how are you going to take what you learned there and impact it to other people so that doesn't happen again? Um, and I think as far as the military, like it is changing to get better, but also it's not, right? We still have those individuals and people that as they move up, it's still, well, this is the way it was. I don't have to do X anymore because I've already arrived. Like you're setting a culture and that culture isn't going to end up well. And you can see it on meme pages, right? Like there's tons of meme pages out there highlighting, and I know it's not everywhere, but highlighting good leaders. Hey, I want to highlight X person because they got up and helped with baggage detail. Okay, that's great, but that's like to be expected. You know what I mean? Like everyone washes windows. Uh, I
Yeah,
see your face.
yeah. The military is not going to change. One, it's too easy to stay it's too easy to not get kicked out and not be fired. All you have to do, all you have to do is show up at the right place, the right time with the right uniform, and you will make staff sergeant, no matter what. Like Okay, I get some points and things like that,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
You will get promoted. You will be in charge of people, no matter how terrible you are at your job. And then if you hang around long enough, the people that are possibly better than you, they're just going to get promoted out or leave or get out and go do something else. So it's really hard. I try to look at it pragmatically with that. Because why do some things in the Army never change? Well, because it's too easy. Because it's just a too easy thing, and everybody really can do it. It's an honorable thing to serve your country, but that's just how it is. And okay, that's not a great answer, Nick. Well, if you serve, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you were in a line unit or in a regular Army base that, not the 82nd, not the 101st, whatever, just to support, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so that's hard to change. That's hard to change because we only have a career where you're operational at that level for so many years. And then new people come in and it's all this revolving door of service. So military is its own thing. Is it going to change? Nope. It's going to adapt to whoever the country needs us to go kill. That's what it's going to do. We need you to go to this terrible place in the world and kill these people. Okay, the military is going to go do that. It's not going to, when in peacetime, it's going to evolve based on what politicians want or what the administration wants or the generals want when there's nothing to do. But that all gets swept aside as soon as we got to go kill somebody for no reason in a foreign place. Hey, go do this. Okay. And it's going to wreak havoc on the people that are in. And okay, the VA will take care of that when they're out. And we'll just act like nothing happened. But it's it's good to highlight good things when they happen because they wouldn't get so much attention if it wasn't so rare. So those things should be highlighted. They should be highlighted more. And that's so important because it's so hard to gain traction for being positive on social media. And it's so easy to gain traction for being negative. So easy. Go look at some of the bigger influencer pages or whatever. Look at the big highlight in the media right now, of somebody who lied about their service. They're still getting more popular. They have gained popularity from not telling the truth. And that's the opposite of what you think would happen. So they're being promoted for doing the wrong thing. So, man, uh, if doing your job is right, at least show it to more people and hopefully it'll gain some more traction and things like that. But it's, you're up against it. So I see what you're saying, but it needs to be done. Otherwise we'll forget about it. And then we'll just go all negative all the time. And that's not the way to go. Oh, it is good to have a market and not to everybody, but who are you finding are the people that are coming to you more? Because
So
obviously you said people are reaching out to you for speaking and for things like that. So what is the market that's seeking you out?
it's been very mixed and it's been very limited right now. And I'm very honest with people when I say that. And that's because still being active duty and being extremely busy doing that, and then on top of being a husband and a father, I am giving about 20% of my time to this. And I had some great advice from John Troxel, who is a phenomenal individual. He was the third SEAC and then retired. He said, I reached out to him on social media. He answered. We ended up meeting for dinner when he was in the Fayetteville area. And I presented this idea to him of, hey, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to give back. I want to impact people, whether that's people in DOD, whether that's civilian organizations. And he said, start it now. Start it while you're in to at least get traction, work your kinks, and do it within the parameters that you can according to regulation. And that's what I've done. So going to the school, being able to, I talked to a veterans group just a week ago out in California, Those have been one-offs through networks and connections. There's been interest from people that shoot competition that would like to come take the course just through word of mouth or social media posts. Possible opportunity, again, word of mouth to go talk to some insurance firms about uh, team building, and then just life story and being able to build strong organizations. But it's been very, very limited in scope. What I have been doing is utilizing the podcast, which I am learning, which I know you know. And it's funny when you talk to people and they look at it and they say, well, why isn't it like X? Why isn't it like this or that? And you realize that when you start I'm using a podcast to keep a pulse on the organization while I'm continuing to serve as I'm getting ready to transition out soon. But as you record these episodes, it's an art. It's an art, and the conversations are great, but all the work on the back end it takes to even just prep it. And obviously you're all in on this, and you're putting. I was just listening to the one you do with 18 Good Guy, and your most recent one with the Sergeant Major retired out of group, and it's just the amount of hours you have to put in to just put one episode on. A lot of these very successful people, yes, they put in the work, but they've now built it out to where they have teams that are able to do this for them. Um,
Yeah.
and it's hard, man. It's very hard. So I hope in about the next year to 18 months, as I transition out of this, that I can dedicate a lot of time recruiting, continue to put on courses, and much like you say all the time, do exactly what I want to do. If I think I'm giving back and I'm getting positive vibes, positive comments, like AARs from the things that we're doing, that's the direction I'm going to go, because I don't owe it to anybody else. So,
I say make content that you're happy with.
yep.
Danny told me that make content that makes you happy, and everything I put out makes me happy, except for some of my funny stuff. I feel like a trash panda comedian a lot of the time when some of those go viral, and I'm like, God, that one really? That one's so dumb. But all of the other stuff, I feel happy with what I put out. Um, and as far as getting work done, if if I don't feel like doing it, I should probably be doing it. Is kind of the attitude I adopt with like, oh, I don't feel like cutting an intro right now. Well, I won't have to do it later. Okay, let's just do it now. And so coaxing myself to get work done is another thing. So yeah, you're right. There's a lot of hours that go into the episodes. I have some, I don't know, I've worked in kind of a system of how I'm doing it. But yeah, it's this is the easiest part. Talking to the people. There's no I got a couple notes, and I've memorized my syllabus, or not. I don't even know it. It's all different jumbled in my head now, but this is the easiest part, is talking to people and just having conversations and making it up and getting better and getting more practice at talking. That's the easiest part. The posting all day and coming up with things that people find interesting and hit and miss. But it's all good. It's all practice and all gets you closer to where you need to be. And yeah, so I mean, it's great. You're starting now, so you're going to be able to step into it full time. What do you think about that? Because I've brought this up on the show a couple times. Somebody asked me the other day, like, what do you hope to do with this? I said, I want to become a professional at this. Right now, I'm an amateur because there's this um, monetary fall or a checkpoint, right, in my life. And if I can get to a number every month, that whatever it is, if I get up selling merch or the podcast itself, or the sponsorships get me to a certain point, then I don't have to leave the house. I can 100% effort. Right now, I still have to dedicate a little bit of effort to trying to find contracts and work to keep me sustained. Um, Still doing this, and I have a company I work with and things like that. So I want to take from an amateur to a professional, and I don't think you can do that unless it's your only, as a small business or whatever, it's your only focus. How do you feel about when you'll be able to take it from 20% to 100%? And what's that look like for you?
So I am I'm looking at my post team jobs. And one of the things that really came at me, which sounds so weird to people, is actually recruiting. And for a multitude of reasons. At that point, I'll already be over 20 years. But reason number one, it's a way to step away from the machine and not be in the daily grind of what that team life is like, right? That company life. Be able to give back and come off slowly, get ready to transition. So be able to give back to kids that are the next generation of the army and just tell your army story, right? Hey, I came from X place. This is what it did for me. But what it also allows you to do is, and this is truth, it gives you instant access to the civilian populations and businesses and organizations. 1000%, hands down. That's why you see a lot of influencers are out there are actually recruiters because they're in businesses, they're in organizations. And that's the time that I think one, I'm going to be able to ramp it up to about 50, 60% because what I'll be doing out there, I'll be able to record. I won't be serving in an organization where I'm kind of limited in scope with how much you want to be on, how much you want to say, different things like that. And I think that's really going to set me up to, as I retire, be able to try and dive in 100%. Hopefully, I'm going to give it a lot of time. I'm hoping that I've been told a lot that, hey, leads and a lot of contracts and things don't come from social media and podcasting. But also, you hear those things of when you go out there and you tell your story and telling people about your experiences and different things that those people want to hear those. They want to hear those in person. So I'm hoping that by doing this and starting it early, that it's going to build enough of a base to be able to provide me to go to that 100% and be exactly where you want to be. Kind of start leading to networking and other things that I can kind of just step right out. Because with a wife and two kids, I don't think I'm going to be able to retire and dive in 100% and not be able to work. So
Do you think that's the healthiest, to just leave no white space between ending one career and starting another?
do I think it's healthy? No. I'm about to be oxymoronic when I say this. I value my time now. I have noticed as I am getting closer to the end when I'm off, I enjoy being off. However, the people that we work around, you're so type A and so driven that it's not healthy to have no white space, but it's what you know. And you're like, well, guess I'm done working. We're just going to go right back to the grind because if I'm not getting better, then there's a problem. And most of us, right? I'm not speaking for everybody, but most of us are just wired that way. If I'm not getting to where I want to be and I'm not moving that goalpost closer to that goalpost, there's a problem, right? It's just like you said earlier, like, well, if I don't do it now, I got to do it later. Um, Healthy, no. How you find a harmony in between that and how you mitigate that is is super important. And for me, it's physical fitness, being able to work out and kind of de-stress. And then I'm gonna have to put markers in my life that they're gonna say, hey, I'm only gonna dedicate X amount of time. Maybe I'll have to live off a calendar more, right? I mean, I kind of do now, but like even more where I'm like, these are gonna have to be family days. I'm not in the machine anymore. Like I have to learn to be present. And that's one of the things I like to talk about with people is be where your feet are. And I think Kyle Morgan has said that before too, but be where your feet are. You may have not slept well. You may have not eaten well. Nobody really cares or gives a shit what your excuse is. Be where you are and be present in the moment.
Struggle with time management as well. That's the first sign for anyone listening at home. That's the first sign that you're getting older, is you have to use the calendar on your phone for everything. And man, if that isn't the truth, I felt as soon as I started getting notifications on my phone of stuff I had completely forgotten about, I was like, man, I am 1,000 years old now. At least I got this thing that tells me. It's, yeah, the balance. Physical fitness is the one thing. That's the only really, really satisfying part of the day, is at the gym. And that's been like that since I was, a kid. starting sports. You always felt good after a workout or while you're working out or doing your thing, practicing and things like that, even if it sucked. So that's that part of that's too easy. Is how I go about it the healthiest? I think it might be now. I've got my schedule pretty good with things like that. But as far as I said to somebody asked me the other day, "What do you do?" And I said, and I rolled my eyes. I went, "I'm a content creator." And as soon as I said it, I kept talking with the guy, and I got back in the truck, and I went, "Well, it's kind of true, Nick. If you're getting money now. I'm making money off content. Like we're not messing around now. Like people are paying you to make stuff." And I was like, "Oh God, that's true. It's not just this fake thing anymore. This is real." And then it's another ramp up in my mind of now more seriously. We got to take this more seriously. And what did you say earlier? You don't get leads and contracts and jobs off of social media.
A lot of, yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that's really not always the direction that you think all your leads and contracts are going to come from.
I don't know, man. If I can't fit anything else into my day just from doing social media stuff, and then the connections and all that come off of this. Obviously, mine is social media centric with scheduling and things like that, and podcasts and all that. But man, I maybe, but so everybody's on it. Everybody's on social media. The first thing that everybody does in the morning. I guarantee anybody listening, the first thing you do is reach over and you grab your phone to see who messaged you throughout the night. And then you open some social media platform and see what the next thing is, is, is sitting there waiting for you to see and digest. So, man, I think it's only going to get more and more as part of our lives as it seems like it's so much now, doesn't it? It seems like that it's all encompassing. I mean, I had nobody really. I had isolated myself out here in Wisconsin, and now I have people I talk to every day from first group, all the groups, and then connection to all the groups now in 9 months. It's crazy. It's crazy how much it's become part of our lives, don't you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, 1000%. I always like to say too, we're more connected now than we've ever been, but for a lot of people, we're also more alone than we've ever been because you can just stay in your house and get instantaneous feedback and be able to send messages and not interact. And I'm not negating everything and anything you said either. That's I've had people ask me, well, how would you structure your day then? Like, and I said, well, if I was going to go about what I say is for me personally, the first thing I do is I get up in the morning and I don't even look at my phone. Like I'll grab my phone and look at the clock, turn it off, but I'm not going to immediately look at it and make everyone else's priority my priority for the day. I just woke up. And I learned that a couple of years ago actually when I went back to the big army. And is if the first thing you're going to do in the morning is get up, drink some water, right? Cold plunge, whatever you're going to do to get ready for the day, go on a run. The moment you start intaking information or checking emails, doing a meeting, subconsciously you're making everybody else's priority your priority for the day, right? Especially when it comes to work, people that are tied to work, because then now we are, right? Our phones, and especially in the military, you know that, hey guys, today we got to get this ready or do this. And like you go to the gym in the morning, you're like, damn, dude, all right, let me hurry up and blitz through this because I got to get to the office. I got to do X, Y, and Z. When it goes back to what you said earlier too, a lot of it's made up, man. Like, let me take care of me. Let me keep this harmony well, like everything else will buff out. And I guarantee if I just wait until 8 a.m., 9 a.m. to check social media, I haven't really missed out on it. I promise. And if I have, well, maybe it just wasn't that important. And that's just the way I look at it. Because there was a point in my life, especially my career, where 1000%, like I was just so tied to my phone. I made everybody else's priority my priority. And for about a stint of 7 months, my fitness declined, my my mental toughness and acumen declined. I emotionally just wasn't there to my family. And I was just constantly turned on to what was going on everywhere else. I wasn't where my feet were at. I'd be there, but I wasn't there.
That's not your career though. That's the military's career. They
One
own that
one one
career. This is when I wake
Yeah,
up and I check my phone, I'm building my business for me and my family. You know that's going to end all that, and there's no reason to let it eat away at your at your what physical and mental wellness in the morning. Like team Microsoft Teams is going to be there in 2 hours. Fuck them. Fuck that. Outlook can go fucking suck a dick, right? Yeah. So there's a
yeah, thousand.
delineation point, and once when you can make that, you'll feel a lot better in the morning about what I said though too, because I'm on the
At that
outside. I'm
thousand,
just chill too.
yeah, thousand percent. I mean, especially when it's yours, right? Like that's your passion. Like that's what you love to do. Absolutely. I guess that context goes out to the greater audience out there, right? That just doesn't want to
Yeah,
turn it off.
there's a yeah, because I mean, God, a lieutenant, man, you're just trying to make your captain happy and everything. You're just everything, oh, available all the time, replying to emails, and then you start maturing, and then you get to a point where like this, I've got to limit myself to this. So I'm starting to wear me down. It's wearing me down, and then you get to trail off. And the same thing happens when you're building a business. You've got to be all in. Like if you want to be really successful, and I'm not, I'm trying. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying. I'm trying really hard, but I don't know if it's going to work out. But um, all in, put in this effort, and I'm always available and all this. Unless I'm in the pool or I'm recording, I'm always available. And but then I guess if it takes off, right? Because you hear Joe Rogan, and he's at the in the clouds level, right? He's above it all. He's achieved nirvana level of success. Oh yeah, I just don't check my phone now for 2 weeks. Okay, that is not reality, people. If you're still building something and you're below a certain level, or you're the 0.0001 of podcasts, you're gonna have to be in there, and you're gonna have to be checking that thing. That's a level that you want to strive to, but whew, that's difficult to get there. That is, it's wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it, to where
Oh,
you've got your
thousand
schedule
percent.
like that?
Yeah. And two people have said it best recently. One of them is Cam Haynes. He says he the saying of must be nice. He's had a lot of people tell him
Oh,
must be nice. And he's like, "Well, I worked at a plant in Oregon for 20 years as I was building this business. So I put in all the extra hours. I was doing it in the morning, at night. I was still, working out. It must be nice. You're right. All that hard work, it is nice, but all the amount of time it took me prior to that, the discipline, the resilience. And just recently when I was talking to Nick Lavery, he said the same thing. He was quoting someone else, and he said entrepreneurship is like chewing on glass and looking down the abyss at the same time, because you don't know what's coming minute to minute. And I've had people say that too. Man, it must be nice to want to, to start your own business. And you're like, dude, you have no idea how late I stay up to just try and crank out one edit or, something different, and talk to people and connect with people. And that doesn't include all the other times where people are calling you and, hey, I really liked that post. Hey, I'm in this phase of my life. Can we talk? And you're like, absolutely, I'm going to talk to you. But now that this is what I want to do, but now it's taking away from the time that I need to give back to the greater audience, the business. So it is very difficult.
dude, like Cam Haynes is at a very high level, right? And this just points out how much negative bias we have when we focus on the one stupid comment that somebody throws out to us, right? He probably heard 10 people, right? Must be nice. And paid attention to that over the tens of thousands of people. They're like, fuck yeah, man, good job. That's awesome. And supporting him. And even somebody at that level can go, when people say it must be nice, fuck them. Don't even give credence to that. They're not supporting you in your life at all. They don't care about you. They're just trying to agitate you. And we all do it. We all do it. We get in the comment section, and there could be 100 people saying, oh, this is awesome, this is great. And then one turd in there goes, fuck you. And you go, well, I've got to respond to this. No, you don't. Fuck, scroll right past it. So even when I hear stuff like that, I go, man, we're all it's like we all succumb to it. We
Yeah.
focus on that one thing because he's got millions of followers. And you know what stood out in his mind? That one person saying it must be nice. And that's a bummer, isn't it? And I'm not going to speak for him, but I'll bet he'd be like, you're right. You're right. That one person gets me, and there's thousands of people supporting me where I should be focusing on saying, I appreciate you guys instead of one turd over here. It's interesting, isn't it? We got a negative bias. That's all right too. Sometimes it's a motivation thing because I feel like, especially with some of the things you do in the military, you have to be negative at sometimes. You have to use some of these terrible things to motivate you. People saying, "Oh, you're not going to get selected. Oh, that's stupid. Why would you do that for your career? Oh, you'll never make it. Oh, they're unprofessional. Why would you want to do that?" And those things. And then just like on the track, you start hearing all those things like, "Oh man, I'm gonna finish this." And all these people that doubted me, I'm gonna prove them wrong. And instead, it's like, man, I should be proving all the people right that believe in me.
So it's funny
Supporting
you say
them.
that. When I started this, uh, and I'm not good about getting on camera now. It's something I need to get a lot better about, and that'll be part of the second phase when I transition out.
You're
But I
practicing right now.
no, I mean that thousand. But I meant like what you do at night, right? Your recap of your day and just sitting there and having a discussion, putting information out. And when I first started this, the amount of jokes and just negativity from people that was coming out. And I was like, at the beginning, I was like, man, is this what I should be doing? Like, am I gonna, I haven't quitted anything else. Am I gonna really quit at this? Fast forward, what, just over a year now, a year and some change. And even at work, the amount of people that come up to me and say, hey man, I really appreciate what you're doing. Can I get a shirt? Like I want to rep like what you're doing because I believe in it. And on the back of the shirt, it says a way of life. And there's multiple components to that, but the three pillars that I have up there are discipline, resilience, and leadership. Those three keywords I think build a strong foundation of who you want to be, or where you want to go in life. And self leadership can sound kind of corny, but if you have to be able to lead yourself, you have to be able to make the decision each and every day that I'm going to execute X. And that's where the discipline is going to come in. The first thing is going to be the thought. I need to do it. The discipline is what's going to take me there. The discipline is what's going to carry me through when all the roadblocks happen and I get hit. And I need to be able to bounce back with resilience. A lot of us like the difficult process because we learn a lot about ourselves, but it's not the process we totally love. It's typically the outcome. Like, again, I'm going to go back to like physical fitness. Like, I hate running, right? I hate running. I love
Well,
lifting
running
weights.
hates you.
Yeah, and no, it does. It's a two-way street there. And but I run a lot because then when it's time to go for a ruck or execute anything that has to do with running, I do fairly well and I enjoy the result of what I get out of it. And it's the same way in business. Like the result you're going to get out of it is going to be so much better than the years and years and years of grind and pain that you're going to learn a lot about yourself. And I wrap all that in to say is those three keywords feed five phrases that I came up with one day when I was back in the big army and I was doing a closeout formation on Friday, getting everybody out of there early at 1600, blah. And they said, hey, you got anything to say? And I don't know, off the cuff, I was sitting there. And the five things I came up with are to try and do daily. Or the first one is attitude. Attitude is going to shape how you do everything. Most things I've done in the military that I perceived to be difficult when I got done with them, I was like, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I probably should have just went into this with a, hey, fuck it. You know what I mean? Whatever happens, happens. Like, we're just going to think positive about it. Second one being, be the leader you would follow. Sounds super cliche. And I was talking to 18 Good Guy about this, and we were talking about it before the recording started. So many different things we say are super cliche, but they mean something. And I've told people, grab your phone and look at yourself in the camera and ask yourself, would I follow me as a husband, a father, a teammate, a neighbor, whatever, financially, educationally? If the answer is no, you already need to know, you know what you need to work on. Number three being, Be the change you wish to see. That's so important. I grew up with an alcoholic, abusive father, and I told myself, like, I'm not gonna be like that. I'm changing it. And I think we all do those things, small things in our life. And but it's like super important. If you don't like something, change it. Like just change it. Number 4 is do something hard every day, regardless of what that is. And I remind people, maybe it's not going to the gym and just repping out. Maybe it's not going on a long run. It might be making a phone call to a buddy that you haven't talked to in a long time because you had a falling out. Maybe it's spending a little bit of time you know, in your spiritual part of your life. If that's what's difficult to you, find something hard to do every day and do it. And the last part, number 5, is have fun. You're going to grind it through life. You're going to work. You're going to have a career. You're going to be a parent. You're going to be a husband. Like, find something every day to have fun with. There was a large part of my life. Again, the military is a huge part of my life because I've been doing it so long. But there was a large chunk in there where, truthfully, I forgot to look up and like realize that the sky was blue. Like, I was so down and in with everything I was doing, run into appointments, deployments, CTCs, that it was just like life was literally moving by. And it wasn't till I like said that to people and I sat down and I sat down and I looked up and I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, what am I doing? Like, what do I do every day for fun? Like, just anything, right? Going on a walk, whatever, conversation. And I think if you can kind of take those pillars, those 3 words and those phrases and kind of combine them and figure out who you want to be in the direction you want to go in, I think it could really drastically change your life. And that's it's really what I want to get out and do. That's like what the shirt and the team stands for, the company stands for, which reminds me, I need to mail you a shirt. I've got one for you. um,
It will get. I tell people, some people do it. Doing. I don't know. I wanted to see how these guys. Shout out to Cross Rifle and Bunker Bros. It's got a cool Memento Mori style thing on the back, but yeah, it will get on the show because I don't like wearing my own stuff on the show. It already is my own show. Yeah, that's why I got the books back here and stuff, and I want to have everybody else's stuff in the back. Like it's just sitting there. Um, I like everything you said except for would I follow me? I had an issue with that one there. Um, I've learned from doing the show and everything, is it helps me just as much as it helps everybody else. And if you look at yourself and go, would I follow me? You don't want to do that. Then you're like, well, am I changing because of what other people think and things like that? If you're putting out content that makes you happy and makes you feel good about yourself and is helping you, it could be you're just working through an issue and you want to talk through it on your story or on a piece of content, or you make funny stuff because it makes you laugh. Good. It doesn't matter if anybody else views it or likes it or anything like that. If you're happy putting it out, that is good. Good for you. You should be happy for you. I'm happy for you. But don't like change just for followers and for clicks. If that's going to happen, it's going to happen. But man, that's why I get on people. There's been some people getting on shows and saying, oh, there's too many of these special or military centric podcasts and there's too many of like this influencers this way. I go, okay, well, maybe they're working through something. Maybe they're just wanting to improve other people's lives and make people feel better about themselves. Maybe there's all this other thing. So maybe it's not for the reason they're doing it that you think it is. So they're not judging you. Why don't you just not judge them? Now, if the greater everybody's like, this needs to stop, that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing. I'm not going to get involved in that. But there's many layers to this self-help and what it looks like nowadays, especially in the modern era. So that's the only thing I would say
no,
is
a thousand percent. I agree. And I guess what I mean by that context is like, I'll use an example. I got a family member that an alcoholic and doesn't like to be around his kids. And I asked him that question. Would you want to be your own dad right now? And he's like, hell no. I'm like, why? Well, because I'm never home. I drink, and I 100% agree with what you're saying. Uh, just for the listeners that are out there, like in the context of if you're not where you want to be because of the decisions that that you are making in life, that you have the ability to change, that's where I would give the
Absolutely.
advice. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you, especially on the drinking thing, though. That's tough, though, because then you can't recognize it because you're trying to take advice from yourself, and yourself is hooked on something else, and you're just making bad decisions, and that's a whole snowball effect and things like that. But whatever you do, don't change your how you do things based on social media. That is not a
No,
road you want to go down.
absolutely not.
That is, and you will not be happy eventually with what you're putting out. Just like me and the hot dog and the ice cream. Oh my God. A sidebar, man. I got this funny reel out there and it did nothing. I'm going to cut this out. It did nothing for like 3, 4 days. And then it got 300,000 views. I woke up and went, what the hell happened here? I'm looking at my numbers and I scroll back. Okay. And I'm looking at it like, no, it can't be. This isn't gonna. This reel's not gonna be the one to make it to 1 million views. And it's just a guy with an ice cream cone and a hot dog swirling soft serve ice cream on it. And man, it just passed 830,000 views, and it's just killing me. It's just trash panda comedy. I'm like, oh my god, this is terrible. I thought one of my million view videos would be something meaningful, and the first one's gonna be ice cream and a hot dog. So terrible. Um, but got 250 followers from it. But man, I just feel like a raccoon digging in trash with that one of all the reels.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out, man. Honestly, Coach Sabian said this. He said, "A players want A players, B players want C players." And I'm not going to change who I am. I'm not going to change what we're putting out there. But it's crazy because you're right. Like so much of what goes out there, it's just flat, right? And I look at some memes and things, and I'm like, how? Or my wife will show me like a TikTok, and I'm like, how does this have like 1.5 million views? Like, I don't understand, you know? And I'm like, well, I'm just gonna keep on keeping on, and we'll just see what happens, you know?
That's why I said the funny stuff, all of my content, that's on one side. My funny stuff, I never know what it's gonna do, who's gonna watch it, how it's gonna go. So I just throw it out there. I go, oh God, I do get followers from this. And if I retain half of the followers that join for my funny stuff, that like my other stuff, then that's good. I mean, it's a net positive. I put very little effort into it. If I see a funny clip, something a caption pops up in my head, I make it real quick. I send it out. Um, but man, I mean, that one I put maybe 45 seconds into that one before it went from start to finish and posted it. And like, okay, God, it eats me alive. But no, it's still fun, man. It's still fun. And you're building. You're building, and everybody needs a laugh. And I explained to my wife, I said, it's yeah, I can put out all of this stuff, but it's tough to get people's attention when you're trying to be positive all the time. And that's not really how the military is. The military is not very positive all the time. There's jokes and dirty jokes and underhanded comments and all this other stuff. And we got to highlight that stuff too if we're going to be serious. And there's a time to goof around, there's a time to be serious. So you got to have the full range of things, and you can't just limit yourself to just being serious all the time. I don't think I can, but I'm out now, and that's the mod or the state of mind that I'm in, where I'm trying to be as relaxed and positive as I can and sort of things. And it happens more once you get out of uniform, I think anyway. So you said when you're looking at next roles and everything, and you said you're coming up on 20 years, right?
Yep. I'm coming up on 18, just over 18 and a half right now. Or 18 and a half. I'm
Yeah,
almost at
man.
18 and a half.
It is one phrase that people say a lot. My path is a little different than everybody else's. Man, everybody's there's so many paths, and then so many of them overlap and things like that. But it's crazy. Everybody gets to the same point, and then it all ends. But obviously, we didn't start on that path and how to get there. Now, what I said is, we're going to go into a little bit of what civil affairs is. I need a refresher, and I've tried now. Hopefully, this episode comes out okay. This is, I think, try number 3 of trying to get a civil affairs episode out there. And we've failed at it every other time with some technical issues and some administrative issues as well. So you are and I said I asked you this, 38 Alpha, but you guys got to have your own special identifier. You're a 38 Sierra. What the fuck does that mean?
So I'll give a little bit of context here. So a 38 Alpha was and still is a like civil affairs officer. Those are the same MOSs for the reserves and active duty. Now it is different because like SF, you can have guys who they hold the same MOS, but they're in the guard or they're active duty, but they go through the same pipeline. CA is not that way. So active duty CA, you can't just enlist. There's no X-ray program. Got to go to the big army, got to do your time, put a packet in, go to assessment selection, then go to the Q course. The Q course is structured very similar to SFQC. There's a language block, there's a field block. I'm keeping it, rudimentary here, but like there's a field block, there's a language block, there's a phase A, a phase B block, then your MOS block. And then from there, SEER school, and then anything else that you can get before you leave the magical land of SWIC and off to hopefully your team. The reserves, you can enlist as CA, and then your AIT, you'll come here and you'll do some very short AIT, and you go back to your reserve unit and go hand out soccer balls and do great things. Now, the officer side of the house, they'll come here, they'll go do their triple C, then they'll come here for a very short pipeline. I'm not going to say how long the pipeline is because I don't know, but I can tell you it's extremely short. I've had answers from 10 days to 30 days, and then they're back out at their unit. So what the Army did, or what USASOC did, is we need a clear delineation because CA is very small relatively, especially the active duty force it's like 85% of the CA force reside in the reserves. So you have USA KPOC, which is the United States Army Civil Affairs Psychological Operations Group. And they have like a 2-star general or something. Well, the active duty side, back in the day when I came in, there was 2 brigades active duty. It was the 95th CA that was under USASOC, and there was the 85th that was under FORCECOM, but you still did a lot of USASOC things. And it was the Army's way to get around GWAT. They're like, we don't have enough people. It was like when SF created the 4th Battalions, like, we need more. We're going to fill it. That ended up becoming a different mission, obviously, but we're going to fill it and we're going to go do our thing. Well, the 85th was like designated to support FORCECOM. That worked out kind of, sort of, not really. That's where I ended up going at the beginning. I had a phenomenal time on the team and did some time in the 95th, which is the act now. The 85th has gone away. The 95th is the only active duty CA brigade. So it is equivalent to a group. It's commanded by a full colonel. And then there's 5 CA battalions underneath that are set up the same as group. They are regionally aligned and, they'll go deploy to those AORs, AFRICOM, SOUTHCOM, CENTCOM, all those. So they changed the MOS code for the enlisted and the officers. So the officers are now set as governance officers. We can get into that. And your NCOs are either Zulus or recon NCOs or your medics. So the big delineation between like PSYOP, CA is our pipelines are completely different. PSYOP, they don't get medics. They have a completely different mission set. CA teams all have a SOCOM on them, which, as you know, is absolute gold because they all either leave to go PA or they're stuck in trauma 1 and 2 forever. And you can just never have enough of them. And they just kind of get beat up between rotation to rotation to rotation. So active duty CA are all soft. They fall under USASOC. They fall under 1st SFC.
The 95th is active soft CA.
Yes. Yep.
But then there's reserve Non-soft?
Yep, they are.
Okay.
And I will say there is a massive difference between the two. And what that looks like is the reserves are they will fall in on a conventional unit, and it's going to be, it might look like access and emplacement, but it's going to look at how do we possibly help train? How do we do humanitarian disaster, HADR, humanitarian disaster and relief? What does that look like? For people that don't know, right, it takes the reserves a long time to activate. Then they got to be put on orders. Then they got to get out the door. Where active duty CA is completely different. So the reason why they call it a governance officer is because we operate alongside our SF counterparts in different areas of the battle space, and we set conditions for the battle space. As a CA, Bubba, your job is to build out and map networks, right? Figure out who's who in the zoo. Who do you want to train? Who do you want to work with? Because one piece that especially maneuver commanders tend to forget is the civilian population gets a say. And I think we're going back to it more now because in GWAT, we were able to pick up the phone, call down to a team, right, or a strike force, go out, do what we need to do. Now, as we look at how things are shaping, I can't just drive a tank or get on a helicopter and fly wherever I want to go. Like, look at what's happening in Ukraine. If I put a bunch of people out and roadblock a road, we're not about to run over a bunch of people. If we block an LZ, nobody's about to just land there. So, how do you set conditions and figure out who's who in the zoo and get the people to do right? Help them out, but get them to do what they need to do. What they teach a lot of is there's government and governance. And we all know, I like to think of it as the mafia or gangs. You have the government that is doing policy and whatever else they want to do. But really, it's the governance that's like running the show, right? They're getting things done. They're figuring out what needs to happen, how it needs to happen, how it's going to happen, and lay out the framework. So it's a very interesting job. It's extremely fun. I wouldn't have come back to it if I didn't think it was. Now with the Army changing and a whole emergence of people within USASOC that are trying things out, I think it's only gonna. I think it's gonna get even funner.
So you were civil affairs before on the enlisted side?
I was in SOF, not in the reserves.
So 95th,
Yep,
early
I was in the.
2000s.
I I started out in the 85th when we had 2 brigades, and I did 3 rotations there, and I did one of those at the 85th, and I did two at the 95th.
Okay. So did you have to go through selection both times on the enlisted and
No,
then the officer side?
no. So they changed it, and they changed it for all SF, CA, and PSYOPs. If you were prior enlisted and you were successful at graduating the Q course, you decide to come back as an officer, you do not have to go back through selection.
When
So
did they
that is all
change that?
a few years ago. So it had to be 2021 maybe, because I commissioned in 2019, went to IBOLIC, went to JBLM, and after about 16 months at JBLM, I was like, I'm going back CA. And I picked up the phone, called the branch manager over there, and they were like, hey, man, there's a memo. You don't got to go back to selection. Like, you're good to go. We'll just put you on orders. Obviously, right, I had to come back, go through triple C, but you still got to go back to the Q course. You still got to earn your keep. The only thing I was able to fast track, if you will, was I didn't have to do SEER and then language, you know.
That's bullshit.
It's the same for the
Oh,
SF guys too now. That it's same for the SF guys that are coming back. They don't have to go back to SFAS.
I'll tell them too. That's bullshit as well. Go back through that shit. That's a different job. If you want to switch sides, go back through selection. But I'm not a decision maker. Good for them. If you're following the regulations, then good for you. So I also draw the line. I go, I can complain all I want, but I ain't gonna make any difference. So hey, yeah, because I think I went through selection with some tab guys. I definitely was in the course with some tab guys, and they kind of just did their own
Yeah,
thing.
it had changed, right? And it has changed for the SF guys a few times now. There was a point where if you have your long tab, you didn't have to go back through SUT. And then they changed it and said, you do have to go back through SUT. Uh, yeah. So it was like, it's been, honestly, I don't know where it's at now. I don't keep up with it. I do know the policy is still in effect where you don't have to go back to SFAS or CA selection. I know that. The rest of it, I don't know. Because when I came back, I came in and a lot of the material was the same. I mean, it had changed, right? It's much like SF doctrine. Like it's gonna change, but if you had done the job for a few years before and you came back through, you'd be like, all right, man, like I kind of got the gist of it. We've changed some acronyms, like we're doing things a little bit differently, but I could probably catch on real quick. And I was like, can I like fast track out of this? And they were like, no. I was like, sick. Here we go. So
All right. So you only had to do one selection, which, I mean, one's probably enough. It made you want to come back. And I mean, you got a good enough experience where you wanted to come back after that. So, but did you, and you said you're coming from the active side. So you you were you were in the regular Army, dropped a packet. Because at the time, I assume we were around the same time, ish. It was, you could go to CA selection, PSYOP selection, or SF selection.
so
I think
originally
it
I
was the
wanted to go
same
SF.
recruiter.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. They had
of course you did. Everybody. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. No, I did. So when I deployed in 2011, we had a reserve CA guy attached to us and we lived on a cop. Again, I don't really know what he did. He was just there. He was an all right dude. But I came back and I was like, I'm gonna go SF, dude. And I had a 99 GT score. You needed 100 at the time, and I was like, I got to go get a GT waiver. So I went and took it, and they raised it from 100 to 105. Like, right? By the time I came back and they did it, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to take the GT class. So I took it and I got a 104. And I was like, So I had to wait 6 months. And I was like, well, I'll just retake it again. Went to retake it. So, hey, man, it's a 107 now. 107. It ain't going to change. So I took it and I got a 106. And I was like, this is fucking ridiculous, dude. Like, are you kidding me? And they were like, no, man, I guess you're just not smart enough. And I was like, all right. So I said, well, what else am I going to do? And they were like, hey, you're either going to go drill or you're going to have to go do a broadening assignment at this point. This is obviously when I was enlisted. And there was a guy, he was like sitting around a corner. He's like, you ever thought about CA? And I was like, I don't know what that is, man. Like, I had a reserve dude, and he was an active duty CA guy. And he was like, oh, look at all this stuff from USOC. I was like, I didn't even know they were USOC. Yeah, dude, sign me up. Let's go. And that was it, dude. I had a buddy of mine in my company that went like a month before me. And he was like, dude, you got to go. It's great. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I guess, whatever. And I showed up, and I don't know if it's the same way for SF. Correct me if I'm wrong. When you get to McCall, you just see a different side of the Army. Like, I get off the bus and they're all just like either wearing ball caps or they're just like, check it out, Zahua free zone. Right. So you're gonna drop your shit and go put it over here. And I was like, oh my God, dude, like, what is happening? Like, these guys seem so relaxed. They just read me instructions and tell me to shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, what are your questions? And I'm like, oh, I don't think I have any. Good. They're not gonna get answered anyway. Just like sick, you know.
What rank were you at this time?
I was an E6 when I went through.
God, yeah, I mean, you're even more indoctrinated at that point, the regular Army. You've been in for quite a
Yeah.
while. All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you get out to McCall. It's weird. When did you go to selection?
2013, end of 2012, beginning of 2013, I think.
I went January and September of 2012. Yeah, you get out there and there's no harping on you for anything. It's all on you. You've gotta show the initiative and figure out everything and come up with the solutions. And oh man, I don't want to ask. Nobody's asking questions. Okay, I guess we're just gonna figure this shit out together then.
We're like, okay, cool, man. What the
Yeah.
weird thing was, I know they've changed it now, is you showed up off the bus with all your patches on. Like, you had your uniforms where like all your engineer tape and stuff was sewn on, but it was weird. And I don't know why we did that, because I got a quick glance, because we had to change like right away. So I got a very quick glance of like who was who. and there was a couple guys from regiment. There was two SF guys, prior SF guys, and now they were officers coming through. And I was like, oh man, I gotta try and stick with these dudes. You know what I mean? But other than that, like selection was it was a really good experience. It sucked, but it was like, I don't know, man. Like it's one of those things like you just got to see a different side of the army. You know, I was like, hey man, here's your task condition standards. Go forth and do great things. Or don't. I don't really care. you know?
I don't really remember the first day. I don't even, I mean, I don't think we were, I don't know. We obviously didn't show up and we traveled in, well, I don't know. Maybe we put on a engineer tape when we got out there. I don't remember. I know we
Yeah.
traveled in, oh, it's so unmemorable. Nothing happened. Like it just,
Yeah. Yeah. It was
all right.
the only reason I remember that is because two of the guys, one of them was Mac, the guy that I actually have on the Beyond the Trek team with me, and then another guy that I play fantasy football with that we're like still friends. Other than that, like, nothing crazy. And I ate for some reason, like just funny, there's like funny moments that stand out about selection. Like three in particular. I mean, I don't need to go down a rabbit hole, but like one being uh they would make you run up and down the airfield, which is like a mile, right? And then you'd come back and you had to like make shapes with like heavy logs. And I just couldn't do it. And the guy looked at me and it's a no feedback course. Like it's just you do your thing. And he looked at me and he's like, you're not I just vividly remember this. Like I was like picking up the log and I was like, oh shit. I don't know, man. And he just looked at me, he's like, you're not very fucking smart, are you? I was like, guess not. and he was like, go back
Roger,
over
Roger
there.
Sergeant, Roger Sergeant.
Okay. So I went over there, and another moment being, we had this guy, number one never makes it. He was a guy, terrible teammate, terrible. And I remember yelling at him a couple of days before like the long walk. And I was like, well, they ain't going to fucking pick me now. He was just a terrible teammate. And they have everybody lined up and they start calling off roster numbers. I'm like, well, they ain't called mine yet. And they kept calling him. They were like, number one, number one. Dude wasn't saying nothing. They're like, number one. He's like, oh, I'm right here. And they're like, wherever they had him go, right in the big building, whatever. Like, you better go get your ass in there. And they stand in there, and he's like, this dude's gonna wonder why he didn't get selected. I was like, oh shit, I guess I made it. You know what I mean? like, um, yeah. I guess the last thing that really stands out to me is when I got my out counseling. Showed me a bunch of stuff, and the dude was like, hey man, good at physical fitness, good at this. You're terrible at English. Like you're gonna struggle at language. And I was like, this dude, whatever, man. He don't know. And he was right. he was spot on. And I was like, yep, I rode the struggle bus.
God, yeah. I mean, they know stuff. They've got it all figured out. There's been so many iterations. They know exactly how you're going to do plus or minus 5% throughout the course of who they're getting. And I imagine, I don't know for sure, but I imagine those cadres sitting there on probably day one can tell who's going to get selected and who's not. They got to remain objective and assess everybody, because some people will surprise you, but they got to look and go, yep, nope, 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 yep, yep. So, but so you went for that reason. And yeah, selection was whatever. Everybody goes through it. You make it, you don't make it. Hold your head up when you get out of it. What's the process like for you guys when you go back to your home unit, slide that sheet of paper on first sergeant's desk and say, hey, I'm leaving? What happened after that for you?
Well, I think the second person I called was my platoon sergeant. I was still out at McCall. It was like the day we were leaving or something. They gave us our bags back. And I called my wife, and then I called my platoon sergeant. He was like, gave me the typical, what the fuck? You can't be leaving. Same thing happened when I got back. Hey guys, can I go work with the recruiters? They're like, fuck no, pack your shit. You're in the field. Sick. Yeah. Yeah, dude, nothing. So I hung out there, did whatever. And then what did I do? I left there and I went TDY en route because I wasn't airborne qualified. So I had to go to airborne school, and then I came to Bragg and then started the Q course.
See, I was at just a leg field artillery unit. I got to go TDY and in return, and and it was great both times. Brag, selection, come back selected. Ah, that was an awesome feeling. But then you go to airborne and come back, and it's just airborne, you know. I mean, but it's such a cool. I come back, and you know, you got your badge on there. Nobody else has got anything, and the only other airborne guy in the whole like battalion, he teased me up. He's like, "Hey Ward, how your legs feel?" He's like, and I'm like, I don't know how you people walk on these fucking things, you know, just a fucking dipshit thing to say. But it was like, oh well, he gave me a print actually. It's upstairs. He gave when I graduated. It was really nice of him. Um, everybody else was like, couldn't really. I got lucky because nobody gave a shit about me. I went on rear D and like they forgot about me, so I was able to do whatever I want. But he gave me this print, and I've had it since I graduated airborne school. It's C-130 with the guys jumping out. And I always look at that, and that was a cool thing he did there. So he didn't have to, you know, staff sergeant, well past his time. His time was over from jumping, but I always look at that and go, man, you know, that little nice thing somebody did for me at the base I hated so much. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So it's too bad that doesn't sound like anybody did anything nice for you once you got selected.
Can't believe you're gonna be a quitter. You would have been a sergeant major if you'd stuck around. And I was like, oh, sick, dude. Thanks.
Do you think about that at all? I think about it sometimes. If I would have stayed where I was at, how high and successful I would have been.
Have so I left as a sergeant first class when I went green, and my I was very competitive. When I look at like the E8s and stuff we have now, like they're very young, man. They're like 15 years, right? I think the Army has gone to like a younger model because people are hitting 20 years and they're like, I'm not going to get promoted to sergeant major and then spend another 5 or 6 years for retirement and all this other stuff, right? So I think I was competitive to make eight. But unfortunately, fortunately, whichever way you look at it, I look, everything happens for a reason. I've spent my entire career at the lowest level possible. And the lessons that I learned commissioning and especially being an XO, and I had a phenomenal unit at JBLM. It was rough how busy the op tempo was, but the people that were there, it set me up for success now that when I come back and I look at it, like I wonder where I would be, but would I be able to impart everything I've learned people at the lowest level now? Like, no, probably not. Do I think it would be fun to still be enlisted and do some certain things? Yes, but I've also hit the point at the end of the day where I'm like, I can retire as a O3E and my paycheck's bigger than a sergeant major paycheck. So like at the end of the day, when everybody retires, like all that matters is what hits your bank account and the friends that you made. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know if it's all that matters.
no. It's not
Yes,
all about. I guess I should recap. But you know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, like yes, you would have those experiences. You're going to have those friends, but it could. Would I go back and change anything if no, I wouldn't.
no, we're
a,
not saying go back and change. That's actually later. The question that comes up later.
yeah,
I
but
just
I, but
do
I've
you give any thought to what could have been had you stayed there? And because and what would that have looked like for you? Because I've said on the show many times, the regular Army is not a place for high achievers. It will drag you down from being a high achiever if you are there. You'll still achieve great things, but
oh,
you
I'm
won't be
sorry.
satisfied.
I misunderstood your question. I thought you meant like if I could go back, would I have stayed in
No,
soft
that's
enlisted?
later. I got you're tipping my hand to the audience here, my regular audience that's listened
Okay.
this far. No, that's later. That's if you could
No,
change something later. But no, do you
I
think
give
about what could have been?
zero thought if I would have stayed in the conventional army. That doesn't even cross my mind. There's no way. I think I would have gotten out of the army because I'm not saying I was a high achiever by any means, but it was like get a 270 on your PT test and show up at the right place at the right time, like you said. Um, and like I would do those things, and I would I was a scout at the time. Being a senior scout was super fun, but it was also boring at the same time. Like I was like, this is so monotonous, man. Like this is just stupid. Like I look at people now and I'm like, how have you stayed? that long doing that job. And they're like, oh, well, man, it's like taking care of people. And I'm like, no, dumb. Like, I just, that's the way I look at it. Like, I get it. People need leadership, mentorship, but there's so much talent out there. I think you could just be better served. And I'm probably going to, eat those words later on if somebody listens to this and tells me what a shitty
Whatever.
comment.
I said right in the beginning, the Army's too easy, and you just laid out why. You got to get out of there and go do this thing. I think I'm out though. I got a lot more time, especially with doing the show and the content and reflecting on how can I make a piece of content out of this, and if I talk about this and things. I think back to Fort Sill. It would have been Fort Sill, Fort Sill, Korea, and then maybe I could have got myself out of there and to the 82nd, to the Airborne Field Artillery Brigade. That would have been really the only way to get out of there and stay where I was and not go to a selection. But if I'd stay there, I'd be finishing. I'd be in at 14 over 14 years at this point. I'd be no doubt that I'd be finishing my company first sergeant time right now, and I'd be going to Sergeant Major Academy at 15 years. But I'm that confident in myself of how much I could have achieved, and God, I think I could have done it anywhere, also. But that's the kind of I want people to think that wherever they go, if they're at a now, I want people to think that to be confident, be like, I would have succeeded wherever I went. So I think if, I just stayed there, I would have been very successful. Had I stayed healthy in SF, I would have been very successful, just a different type of successful. So I do give it more thought, but you're in still now and you're still living the life. You start reflecting on the old times a little bit more when it's all over. So I was just curious to see what people think about that. How long is your guys' Q course? Because you throw language in there and some other stuff, it's got to be like a year, right?
Yeah, it's a year.
Is
It's a
it
year. Now that SEER school is in there, it wasn't when I went through. You just had to go to your battalion, and then when you got to your battalion, then you went to SEER school. And then that was up in the air of like what SEER school you were going to go to because they were always packed. So now it is part of the pipeline, and you are not leaving SWIC without it. So it's like that just adds more time, right? Because then you grab. And I'm not saying like that's the right answer; it's the wrong answer. Regardless if you put it in a pipeline or not, it's like, you know what I mean? You got all these people going through a course. Now you're like, well, now I got to get you into SEER. Oh, wait, you can't go. You can't get your physical. How much longer are you sitting at SWIC for? I was fortunate enough. I was in the Q course a year. I was in the 85th at the time. So they had a battalion down at Stewart, which I thought was like a death sentence. I was like, I'm leaving Fort Bragg. No. And it ended up being the best thing ever because the brigade headquarters for the 85th was actually at Fort Hood. And I was like away from the flagpole. It was like a standalone, like USASOC battalion, right? Dude, you could do no wrong. Like it was great. I had a great time. Like training was great. Everything was good. And yeah, man, I got down there and showed up, immediately went to SEER school, came back, and then got right into training.
I think in the pipeline is the right answer. At least
No,
if you want to
1,000.
take care of the students, because
Yeah.
because they're already in the student mindset.
Yes.
Okay, it's just this another block to check off. Man, I can't imagine leaving the course and then going, hey, need you to go to SEER. Man, people who would leave group, especially JBLM, and then go to we'd send them to SEER like support guys. Holy shit, that just
No, it
sucks. Can
sucks.
you
The
imagine
1,000.
that? Can you imagine that?
No, and I get it. Like I lived it, and it does suck. And you're 100% right. I agree with you. I think before you leave the schoolhouse is the right answer. The thing it sucks. I mean, it just doesn't. It is what it is, right? You think of people, and I put this in perspective. People come, they go to a Q course, they knock it out, and then they're trying out for other schools, right? So yeah, you got SEER, it's in your pipeline, so your timeline's extended, and then you're like, well, hey, before I leave, right? And it kind of depends on like who the battalion commanders are and stuff like that. But you got guys that are SF that are, hey, I want to try and knock out Halo or dive while I'm here. Well, you got CA people now that are going to MAC and pre-dive because they're like, dude, I'm trying to get a dive slot because there's like this whole integration thing that's happening. But regardless, whether or not they get a slot, you're like, well, if you do get a slot, that's the argument now is like, well, how much longer are you going to be at SWIC for? Because now I got to send you dive, Halo, wherever. And I know that's been a big point there because even for the 18s, they're like, are you going to a Halo team? They're like, well, I want to go to a Halo team. And they're like, yo, dude, you've been in X course or the Delta course or whatever for X amount of time. Like, you've been here way too long. You got to go. And it's like, sucks. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not in charge of those people. Will never be. And I don't have to balance that timeline. So have fun. It's just expectation management for the listeners, for those that are like, man, I really want to go. It's great. It's what really opened my eyes is when I went to airborne school and I had a force recon medic that was in airborne school with me. And he had done BRC. He was SOCM qualified. He had Halo. He had done Ranger school. And now he was like, dude, the last school I have is airborne static line, which is ridiculous. He's like, I enlisted on a 5-year contract because it was mandatory. And between all the weights and going to school, by the time I get back to my unit, I will have been in school 3.5 years. By the time I even get to a team, I'm a year out from getting out. And I was just like, that sucks, dude. Like, that is miserable. Like,
That's not ideal. I think there was an X-ray. He might have been prior service. Doesn't matter. When we were graduating, we were getting ready to wrap up language. I was just standing there in formation talking to him. He's like, "Yeah, man, I've been here for 4 years." I'm like, what do you mean you've been here for 4 years? It's like, "Yeah, I just hit year number 4. I came into the course, and languages was at the front, and he recycled a bunch of phases of the Delta course." And then when he got to graduation, they're like, nope, go back through language again. You got to get recertified. So he had just over 6 months of language on each end of the course. And then the Delta course is a year or two, almost 2 years by itself. And then he recycles. So he's there for 4 calendar years. Fuck that. Yeah. So if listening at home, there's a, you can get stuck in the course and live there at a certain point, and it becomes your whole life. And then, oh fuck, I haven't even been to a team yet. I've been in the military for 4 years.
dude, and hats off to the Deltas because even our SOCM medics, right? Like they're considered a 38 whiskey. By the time that they complete SOCM or the Delta course, then go through the Q course, then language, and then get to their team, they got to do research. So they're just, you're like, welcome, see you later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Go back, get your credentials fixed up.
oh,
As always, retention questions and things like that in group. But somebody's messaged me saying, SF can't keep any 18 deltas. And then I looked into it. Man, they're putting these 18 deltas out of the course with degrees, and they're paramedics as well. And I think somebody said they're just like legitimately this time, they're only a few classes away or something like that from being a PA, and like with everything they're coming out with, they're so close to being a PA or something like that. And I was like, oh, no wonder you can't keep them, because if they get to group, they have a bad experience and they go, you know what? I'm going to leave, and you guys set me up for success for the rest of my life here by doing this for me. And that is unpopular to say, but that's an example of the Army taking too good of care of the soldiers. Like, you give them just enough, and you only make them enlist for 4 years. You put them through this course that's 3 years long, and then after a year they can get out. Yeah, they're going to get out. That's 100% what's going to happen. And it's interesting just how things work. In this case, the Army took good care of what they were trying to do for the soldiers, and it's going to backfire for them. It's probably going to backfire for them for quite a long time, but we'll see how it goes. What does your guys' graduation kind of look like? Because you guys do Sluss Tiller, which is, we have Robin Sage, you guys have Sluss Tiller, and you kind of, everything's a build up to that. Did you have to go through that, or is that a new thing that's in the pipeline?
no, I went through it the first time and I went through it the second time. The second time I was completely changed and revitalized. I will say Uh, it was completely different. They've definitely evolved, mm, without, like, giving a ton away. Like, the first time I went, we got bused to Camp McCall, and then kinda yeah, it was really weird, had to do everything from there. This last time, um, we got they set it up like you had fully, like, deployed to a country, like, straight up, pack out, Pope, C-27 into an airport, local for the whole shebang, and then when it had shifted from friendly to not friendly anymore, we were, at a camp out in somewhere in Fayetteville, like just a normal kids camp that they using and utilizing, and they were like, "Hey, conditions have changed." Like, whoever was in charge, whoever they, I mean, whoever they deemed to get their look, uh, come do planning, and they're like, route planning, AMR. I'm like, what the hell's going on, dude? And they were like, be ready at X time, dude. Middle of the night, PZ posture came shit hooks landed in the middle of Fayetteville, and they're like, "Get on, we're infilling." And I was like, "Damn, this has changed. Sick," you know. So it has changed, and it's changed for the better. And I'm sure it'll just continue to evolve.
What do you think when people what was the saying when I went through selection? Because really all I had awareness of what CA was we kind of pointed over there and they're like, oh, that's the CA guys. And like people would make comments, oh, they're the ones that can't go to can't make it in SF. How do you respond to when people say that like CA is just the JV team for special forces or things like that or whatever people say? I'm not like aware of it because I'm pretty far removed from it. But a couple of people that have messaged me have said, it's not just Special Forces Junior; it's its own thing.
Yeah, it is its own thing with its complete own mission set. And to be honest with you, like you don't really hear that anymore. W- I work with somebody now who was an assessor, and you hear from what we've talked about, like they're assessing similar but very different things. But a lot of them are based off of RSOP attributes and different sets. I would say I would just tell those people, if those people are still there, that understand what the mission set is and understand how you can unilaterally leverage each other to accomplish the mission. Because SF and each individual on an ODA has a specialty that they go out and accomplish. It's the same thing with CA. And it depends on the mission set. Um, I'm my AFRICOM and CENTCOM guy. There's a lot of embassies I've been in that they don't want ODAs there. They just don't. However, on the flip side of that, there's an embassy I've been to, and they were like, we don't want CA, we want ODAs. And it's, why is that? What is it? What is the mission set? What do you bring to the table? And there's like a whole counter argument, right? All the schools as the guys on ODAs can go to that can help them do it. Um, but that's what I would say. But I say that now because I'm older and I look at like a broader picture of things. I'm not 25 anymore, just full of anger and piss all the time. And I'm just like, uh, but what I will say is, in the CA PSYOP realm, because you mentioned at the beginning, I think we talked about it before. The SF makes up a large majority of USASOC. There's a lot more of them. That's just the way it is. Just because you're in USASOC, regardless of where you work, you got to earn your keep. So I tell this to every CA team that I ever come and actually, you got to earn your keep. If you're going to go work with an ODA, goes back to those two things. Are you an asset or are you a liability? Like, how are you gonna be able to mutually be able to support each other? Don't show your ass. Don't be out of shape. Like, don't be don't be terrible. Um, and I don't know how your ODA was. Like, I've been fortunate to
Terrible.
work with some. I've been able to work with some MARSOC raiders. I've worked with 4 ODAs, and one of the ODAs was just terrible. And not terrible in a training aspect, terrible because there was just no team cohesion. Like, so it was so hard to get anything done. And I've had great experiences with ODAs. So I don't know. Don't put yourself lower. Just explain your capability.
I need to get a refresher on how bad my ODA was. So I don't trust my memories after a certain point, and so I have to reach out to people and be like, "Was it really this bad?" And I'm getting to that point again because I say stuff and I go, "Oh, that can't be true." That can't be true. Let me call somebody else so I can either reaffirm or change my opinion. But no, I went to a bad team. And I got hurt and ended my career at a bad team sergeant. Fuck that guy. And didn't work out for me. But people get hurt in training. People get killed in training. Luckily, I wasn't in the latter portion. I'm okay with it now. Um, and like I said, I get a check on the first of every month, and I'm afraid of the ocean. So that's a bonus. So it's good. So, no, everybody's got a different mission set. And as I said earlier, right? Like my, people told you can't be too broad. I heard that. I'm like, special operations. That's my corner of the market. That's big enough where I will never run out of people to talk to and material. And there's all kinds of stuff going on all the time where I can focus in on that. And I want to have everybody on civil affairs, special forces, psyops, SOTAs. I'll even bring in, some of the stuff that's not technically under use of SOC, but scout sniper. I got Marines, got SEALs, all kinds of stuff. Whatever anybody that falls under special operations, or if you're operating, even if I think you're operating at a high level in your field, I want to have you on and talk to you. But that's for later when I branch out a little bit more, get a little bit better skills. But no, everybody's got a use, man. Everybody's got a use. Yeah, that's good to hear that you don't really hear that anymore. But do you think that's just because of the level that you're at and the things that you hear? Because things at an enlisted level are a lot different than where you're at now.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard because I haven't worked with an ODA in a while. Uh, I don't know. I don't. When you're like at the company, right? You kind of just stay in like your own little company and like your little area. You might venture out a little bit. So unless
Is
there's
it still
something
as
laid on,
segmented for you guys too? Are you guys just as segmented too
oh,
from team to team?
dude, 1,000%. Everyone's got their team room. Every team room's got its own culture. And then it's weird because your battalions aren't that big. Even in group, they're not that big. But you're like, somebody be like, hey, Johnny Smith and Seco. And you're like, no, dude, Seco's like 3 doors down. I don't, yeah, you're right. Like, I don't know who's over there. And what's crazy is I literally work right across. I literally work right across the street from group. I don't even know. Besides the guys I like went to Triple C with, are guys I know in group. Like, I don't know, right? Like it's whatever.
Yeah, people message me now. Did you know so and so? I go, fuck no, man. Unless they got a really fucked up last name, I unlikely that I'm gonna know them. And that was only because I was on staff and I got to look at everybody's names all the time. But
Do you
yeah, it's a
know
weird.
Shane Smith? He's my cousin. He's in the army at Fort Hood, like in the army. And you're like, no, I don't, but thanks.
Well, I'll keep an eye out for them.
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye out for them. Well, so you know, when you got into civil affairs, oh come on, bud, you got into civil affairs, obviously for one reason, and I mean, you didn't get to do your primary, you got to do your secondary. Is How different was it than your expectation? Because as you start going through the qualification course, you had to have started to learn what everything was. And I didn't really like when I was going through the Q course. I didn't really learn until we started getting close to graduation, like what I was going to be doing. And even then, I showed up to the team. I was like, man, I didn't learn shit, like at all.
Same,
At what
same
point did
thing.
you finally realize what you were getting yourself? Oh, not at all.
I didn't know.
You
I
just
showed up
never
to my,
realized what you got yourself into.
I don't, I think, I will say it was an RMT. We did like a company RMT. That's when I started to figure it out. Up until then, like, I had no clue, man. None. Like I showed up to the company and they were doing a training meeting and they just turned around and were like, "Sup, you work here now?" I'm like, "Guess so." Uh, yeah, and I got to go down. We did like 2 or 3 company RMTs and they were down in Florida. There was one of them like it hit, and I was like, okay, I guess I kind of know what we do now, maybe a little bit. Um, I would say it really hit me. It was just really awkward. It really hit me when I came back. When I came back through the Q course the second time, and that's because when I got to leave and go back to the big army, I got a quick reminder of like what does the big army do, especially in the infantry, close with and destroy. How does SOF enable that? So when I took a step back and I like looked at it all, I was like, oh, I get it now. Because at the team level, you get very inundated with what's my rotation, where am I going, what's PMT. I fall into the path, I do it, I go. Right. If I can achieve whatever in X amount of months, I achieve it. If I don't, well, high five. Um, you know what I mean? Does that sound pretty
I
spot on?
do. Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like schoolhouse is one thing, and getting to a team is one thing. But that's even crazier. That I it didn't really all click until the second time through the job. And it's like now I can put all the pieces together. But that's experience and training
Yeah.
and life experience and all the other stuff. Uh,
Like I was
so
fortunate. I went to an amazing team and a good company, but I was like just as the FNG, I was surviving, dude. It was just like you better keep up, better be fit, better know this, better know that. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck. Okay, man, sure. Like I'm just gonna learn.
And that's another reason I ask a lot of people on here, did you ever stop and look around and appreciate what you're doing? And I've come up with that it's not possible. At a certain level, if you're trying to achieve things, there's no way to stop and look around because you're just trying to not run around with your head on fire. And no, I didn't take any pictures. Yeah, you probably didn't take any pictures because you didn't think of it. And you didn't have a second to think of it, or you're trying to do this or accomplish this other thing. So it's it's interesting. It's like, man, I didn't appreciate it while I had it. Well, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I don't think it's possible. I really don't. And maybe and coming back at another level like you did, now you can look around and you can take a breath and go, okay, I got to hold on this time. So that's
It's
interesting.
exactly what it is, and that's why I think, yeah, that's like I think that's my gift now is being able to give that back. So when I'm watching the young recon guys or whatever, they're like, I got to get to this school. I got to go here. I'm like, dude, take a break. It's all right. Like, hold on. Like, let's make sure we understand like what we're doing, or let's make sure you understand the decision you're about to make to do X. Uh, you know,
So what is the pitch now to the young enlisted guy still or gal still looking at civil affairs, psyops, or SF? Like what is the thing that CA gets to do that the others don't get to do, and what makes it so special?
a lot smaller of a team, 4-person team. You say 4-man team, four-person team. You're still going to get to a lot of cool guy schools if you want, right? You're still going to shoot, move, communicate. Do you want to work with people, right? Do you want to understand what makes people tick? Do you want to have influence at a level that you're going to make the big army be able to operate? That's it's really hard to say without diving into, other stuff, but how do you set conditions for the big army to do its job? And I know that's not sexy. That's the same thing I tell people that want to go SF now because they're like, "Well, I want to kick indoors and I want to, fast rope off little birds." And I'm like, "Wrong organization. You can do that in that realm, but there's like a certain place in that realm that you're going to do that, but like that's like not their primary mission. Your primary job is to set conditions for the big army to come in and do its thing." Like I love it. Way back in the Nick Lavery says this too. Like when he first got to an ODA, he was like, "This ODA is going to conquer the world, and we're going to tear it down." And you're like, "That's exactly what you think." Again, coming back a little bit more experience, like, and you take a step back and look at it, you're like, "Okay, man." Like, especially now when you look at doctrine, how do you set conditions for the joint force? How do you do that on an ODA, right? Through your job. How do you do that as CA? If we come through here and war happens, how do you figure out who's going to be the governor? How do you reestablish essential services? How do you get them to work with the people that ODAs have been working with? You know what I mean? Like you ain't holding ground even now, I mean, cross-functional teams have been around for a long time. Let's just combine an ODA and a CA team. That's what, 18 people. Maybe we'll throw an Intel Bubba in there. What are we doing with? Yeah, back in GWAT, we were like, we had cops, we had air superiority. Going forward, you're not going to have that. What are 20 people going to do? Enlist go nothing. Sorry, like I just, you know what I mean? Like it's, you're going to be able to do your job, but you're not a landowner. You're not you're there to set conditions. So what capacity do you want to do that in? You want to train? You want to train people in as a Charlie, as a Delta, as a Bravo, or you want to get out there and really talk to people and man, set set conditions that way.
Okay. Ever revolving. No, okay. So now what's it look like going forward for Beyond the Trek with you guys? And what is the I guess we kind of you said you guys once you get to the next point and then into retirement, but where do you hope to take it far on down the road?
I'm big on visualization. I've heard a lot of times, especially guys who go to OTC and things, like visualization is a big thing to be able to see where you want to go. And so I've sat down. I'm like, I want to be the guy that is sitting in a boardroom, standing on a stage, a small stage, and helping people get better, helping companies build strong, cohesive teams, helping you bring down your turnover rate. On the other flip side of that, there is part of me that wants to like let go of the military, but I feel like you also owe it. Everybody who's served, like you gain skills and other attributes, I guess, if that's not the right word, but you've gained skills and training that you've been able to do. Why don't you give that back? So there's a part of me that wants to still hold a physical fitness aspect and run courses like Trek to the Response, where it's like, hey man, I'm just going to give you a little bit of what I learned. How do we prep ourselves, our family, and just give back, man? I know that's such a broad term and so cliche, but it's a good feeling. I mean, when you get to get out and talk to people and just two or three people come back and they're like, "Hey, I really enjoyed that," or "Hey, can I talk to you?" Or I had somebody when I talked to that veterans group the other day, he hit me up and was like, "Dude, I've been watching these podcasts and like X episode is exactly where I am right now, and I really appreciate that." And you're like, "Okay, So how do you? What I'm trying to figure out is how do you monetize it? How can I give it more effort, time? Those are things I'm gonna learn. But I want it to be an organization that is a beacon that just helps people and organizations go to the next level.
Yeah, man. Well, hope any way I can help you. Hopefully, we get you a few more looks with this, and we'll see where things go. We all help each other rise together. I got 5 questions here, and then I'll cut you loose, and we'll see how things go. But what's your response to thank you for your service?
Truthfully, cringy, man. Like I want to reply back every time with thanks for paying your taxes. Because
You can.
I know I haven't hit that point yet. It's very weird to me. Uh you served, nobody made you serve, nobody forced your hand to go volunteer to do certain things. You decided to do it. It's hard because it's just like, wow, I'm just doing my job. It's something I'm gonna have to accept. It's very hard for me also to go out and toot that soft horn, if you will, right? Because I'm like, it's your job. Like, it's what you do. But you got to be mature enough and self aware to take a step back and look at it and say, these people truly are thankful. Majority of them, which is why they say it, and you got to just accept it. Like accept it and say, hey, it was my pleasure, or I would do it again, or thank you for acknowledging it. You know,
What's the one characteristic that sets operators apart from the conventional forces?
characteristic. The first one that comes to mind, and I'd probably have to think on it, is drive. It's two, discipline and drive. I think they go hand in hand because they had the drive to want to try out for something else, even though you don't think about it. And again, it sounds cliche. People are like, "Well, you just put a packet in," you know what I mean? But you have a drive to want to be there. you nugged it out through a Q course, whether you wanted to be there or not, or you just weren't going to quit. You got to a team, your drive to do the right thing, and just show up every day and walk among giants. You know, like you're always going to try and get better. Even your worst shit bag, like you're like, that's a shit bag, but he's my shit bag. You know what I mean? Like he he may not be up to par, but his drive to want to do better is still there. The ingenuity, I guess I don't want to go off on a tangent, but what I'm realizing now is coming out of the soft community is how many entrepreneurs we have because you solve problems consistently and you have that drive to be like, well, fuck it, let's ride this train. If it goes off the rails, it goes off the rails, you know?
What is the one moment of your career you wish you could go back and relive or redo, and it wouldn't change where you are now?
It wouldn't change where I am right now. Oh, I don't know, man. Okay. If I had to pick one, I'll keep it real short. There was an incident that almost got me kicked out of ROTC, and it was for signing a piece of paper that I wasn't supposed to sign. And luckily, the professor of military science, the lieutenant colonel, took a chance on me. He was like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna give you another shot after a long awaited, arduous process of hanging that I might just get booted out of ROTC." I learned a lot through that, but I would have went back and I would have said, "I need help." Everything that I talk about and you talk about, I would have raised my hand and said, because he reached out to me after I'd signed this paper and submitted it. He reached out knowing it already happened. And he said, "How is everything going?" And I didn't read that as a sign. Knowing what I know now, I would have went back and been like, everything's not okay. And I need help. And this is why.
Yeah, I get you. I know what you mean.
But I wouldn't have changed all that pain and everything else that came with that, you know?
Interesting. It's little things that stick in your mind, isn't it, too? Like, that come up. What's the best piece of advice that you received during your career?
This isn't the best. I don't know why. This is the first thing that popped in my head. Uh, your mouth's going to get you promoted or demoted. And so far, it's gotten me promoted. I don't know. I've had so many. I'd have to sit down and think about it. To be honest, uh, the best. I guess I'll dovetail. The best piece of advice I got before I went to selection was from the guy that just got back. And I guess you could take this as good career advice. Know when it's time to be you yourself, and know when it's time to be like that angry door kicker guy and flip the switch. There has to be a level. I think that goes along with your mouth's going to get you promoted or demoted. If you're going to stand up for the boys or you're going to stand up for those people that are with you, know when it's time to be you and know when it's time to fucking die on the hill.
Yeah, there has to be another level. Yeah,
And
everybody knows that, yeah.
I
That
say that
one.
because I've had people ask me like, "What's some selection advice?" And I just tell them that, and they're like, "What do you mean? That's not advice." And I can vividly remember being in selection and walking into an event that was very ambiguous and chaotic, if you will, after a very long movement. And I was like, this is what he meant. Like, you know,
Yeah, to quote, Spinal Tap, "You gotta know when to turn the knob to 11." And, God. Last one, man. What were you afraid of then, and what are you afraid of now?
ooh, that's a good one. Then I was afraid of not being able to accomplish everything I wanted to accomplish in the military and going to the schools and getting the deployments and being the guy that could walk around and be like, look, I've accomplished a lot. I feel accomplished. When I hit that brick wall in ROTC, my mind and everything changed. What am I afraid of now is not living up to be a good husband or father. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you've hit on it numerous times. This road ends, and I didn't realize it then. I didn't realize it when I was younger that the road was going to end. And those ribbons and all that other bullshit isn't gonna matter. My wife, my kids, and that's what I'm afraid of now because there was a point where I wasn't a good husband, I wasn't a good dad, I was gone all the time. I didn't have a good, like, relationship with my kids, and I pour into my family now, and I see that relationship when I leave, like, it hurts my kids, and I was like, "Okay, maybe I am on the right track, and I need to let go of what I thought was important because it's really not," you know?
Good you're aware of it and be you would identify it and keep it there and just have it always right there. Like, I gotta be this way to get where I wanna be. It's good you have identified it. So, how can everybody find you on the socials if they so choose?
Well, we're on the socials, the Soch at on Instagram at Beyond the Trek. There's a Facebook. YouTube is where all the podcasts go. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, they're all in there. There's a website, Beyond the Trek, trek.co, and you can see a little bit about each member of the team that's on there, the different services that we're beginning to offer, kind of how it came about. And there's a video right when you go to the homepage that shows the event we did in Kentucky. So
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. You got anything for me?
I want to say thank you. Like honestly, uh, I tell people all the time that a lot of people will watch like your show. They'll look at the follower count. They'll look at different people and be like, man, I wish I could get a hold of them. I wish I could do this. I'd sent you a message months ago. You answered. We connected, and you've been honestly. We've had very limited interaction for what we've been doing, but every interaction we have, it's been absolutely positive, and I really appreciate that. I mean, everything from you sharing, hey, how do I do these podcasts? Let me reaccommodate schedules. How can I help? Reach out to me. So for that, I want to say thank you. Been an incredible teammate, and I really look forward to seeing how I can help you out. But thank you so much.
I really appreciate that. Uh, just treating everybody like they treated me, which is pretty nice and pretty helpful. And everybody's got a different reason that they want to get to where they want to go. And uh, man, I'm not in competition with anybody, and nobody's in competition with me. I got my thing I want to do, and they got theirs. And if I can help other people out, it'll just help us both. And that's how I look at it. And life happens, and things happen, and everything else. And I'm not going to get too wrapped around the axle around any of it. Sometimes you need to. Sometimes you need to be something like that on other things, but man, there's so few things in life. There's so few things in life that you need to get wrapped around the axle about, and, I just try not to be anymore, but again, I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on, and, I don't you said I got one coming out with you guys soon, sometime? I
Yep.
don't know,
Yeah, that'll
somewhere
be
south.
it'll come out end of October, beginning of November.
Okay, no worries. This will be out in 3 weeks, but, again, I appreciate you. Bye, everybody.